Good evening.
What's up guys, my name is Augustine, I'm a musician and a massive fan of the Beatles, and in today's video I'm gonna give you 10 reasons why I think the Beatles are the best band ever. Now, you might disagree with this and that's completely fine, but listen to what I have to say and then if you still disagree, maybe let me know in the comments because that's what the comments are for. So, number one is the most obvious and is their songwriting. I think this is the main reason why the Beatles are still so relevant, and it's because their songwriting is just amazing. It's out of this world. I listen to a lot of music all the time and I don't think there's any artist who comes even close to their level of songwriting, especially Paul McCartney's songwriting, because I don't know, I think Paul's melodies, especially the melodies, were just so good. You know, songs like Yesterday, Here, There and Everywhere, For No One, She's Living Home. I think especially the melodies, also the harmonies, also the lyrics, and the music production obviously, but especially the melodies from the point of view of a listener and from the point of view of a musician, being a singer-songwriter myself. I think their melodies were just amazingly good, and they inspired so many musicians along the way. Like, I would say all of the music that you listen to these days is inspired by the Beatles for sure.
Writing with John was the ultimate collaboration, and I think we were both very lucky to find each other because we played perfectly off each other. And an example I always give is I was starting this song called Getting Better. I'm going, it's getting better all the time, and he goes, it couldn't get much worse.
Number two, their story. Their story is just so good. Have you seen the movie Bohemian Rhapsody? It's a movie about Queen, about Freddie Mercury's life. And the movie it's good, don't get me wrong, I love Queen and I think it's a really good movie. But basically the movie goes, there's an Indian guy who grew up in London, he used to work at Heathrow Airport, then he joined the band, then the band made it, then he realizes he's gay, then he discovered he has this terrible condition, and then he died. That's it, that's the movie. It's a good movie, but the story of the Beatles is just insanely good. John Lennon's uncle died, John Lennon's mother died, she got hit by a car. Paul McCartney's mother died, Ringo himself almost died several times when he was a kid. They formed the band, they went to Hamburg, they played like 8 hours every night, they went back to England, they made it in England, they went to America, they made it huge in America, they became famous in the whole world, they stopped playing live, they made psychedelic music, they played a rooftop concert, the band broke up, eventually John Lennon got shot. I think it's a really, really good story. At this point, the Beatles are like my friends, and that's why when I saw Paul McCartney at Abbey Road Studios, I almost passed out. I'm not even kidding, I literally almost passed out, because I was like, oh my god, the guy is actually a person, he's there, and he's a real person. So yeah, I think their story is really, really good, and there's so many books, so many movies about them. As a fan, I just love that. And as a musician, I find it really inspiring. Number three is their music production techniques. Being a music producer myself and having studied music production and sound engineering at the Abbey Road Institute, at Abbey Road Studios, I learned a lot about the Beatles and all the amazing music production techniques that they developed. Them and their team, obviously. Producer George Martin, the fifth Beatle, and their main sound engineer, Geoff Emerick. They developed so many music production techniques. I'm not going to go into too much detail because if you're not a music producer or a musician, you're probably going to find this very boring. But they came up with so many tricks that people use these days all the time. Like, for example, recording something and playing it backwards, like in the guitar solo of I'm Only Sleeping. Or recording something half speed and then playing it back twice as fast, like in the piano solo of In My Life. The technology they had in Abbey Road back in the 60s was nothing compared to what someone can do in a laptop these days, in terms of the amount of tracks that they had. For example, they only used to record with 4 tracks and then eventually with 8 tracks, then with 16 tracks, but that's still not much. These days in a laptop you can have as many tracks as you want, and I think these limitations actually help them a lot to come up with new ideas and new tricks and things like that. So yeah, that's definitely one of the things that I admire the most about the Beatles and their team. Their music production skills. And if you're interested in this, there's this book written by Geoff Emerick, their sound engineer, and it's called Here, There and Everywhere, My Life Recording the Music of the Beatles. It's a very, very long title actually. My dad gave me that book when I was 18 and I found it fascinating. I think it's very, very interesting. Even if you're not a musician or even if you're not into music production, they make it easy for you to understand the concepts and everything. And there's lots of stories of their sessions and everything. So I think it's a really good book. I'm pretty sure you're gonna like it. And by the way, if you wanna buy it, I'm gonna leave the link there in the description because there's a thing on Amazon called affiliate links. So if you buy it from my link there, I can get some of the money. I mean, it's the same price for you, but I get a small percentage of that. So yeah, if you wanna buy it, consider using my link there. That would be awesome. Okay, so the reason number 4 why I think the Beatles were the best band in the world is that they were the first ones to do almost everything. They were the first out of many British bands to really make it in America. They were the first ones to play in stadiums, something that these days is really, really common. They were the first band to make it that big. Nobody has ever made it that big before. In my opinion, I think they kind of invented the music industry as we know it right now. So yeah, this is definitely one of the reasons. They were the first ones to do almost everything. Number 5 is that they were huge back then in the 60s, but they are also still relevant these days. I'm pretty sure 200 years from now, people will still remember the Beatles and they're still gonna be relevant because at this point, they're just like Beethoven, Mozart or Bach. Number 6 is that they worked really, really hard and they produced a lot of content. You know, in 10 years, they made 12 albums, they made 5 movies, 22 singles, they played so many shows. And as a fan, that's something that I really, really enjoy because there's so much content. And as an artist myself, that's something that I admire. Because these days, you see so many artists releasing one album, becoming famous, and then maybe waiting like 2-3 years before they release their next album, because they want to sell as many copies as they can or get as many streams as they can before they release the new material. And I just don't think that's the way to go. You know, back then the Beatles didn't know how long their fame was going to last for because, you know, as I said before, everything was so new. They kind of invented the music industry as we know it right now. So they didn't know how long it was going to last for, and they just worked really, really hard to release as much music as they could. That's why they worked on 12 albums, so many singles, they played so many shows, and you know, as a fan, I really enjoy that. Number 7 is the fact that they were constantly changing and looking for new sounds, finding new looks, and I think that's really, really good because a lot of bands tend to find the thing that works for them and just stick to it and release like 5 albums and they all sound the same. And I just, you know, it's good, you know, I still listen to these 5 albums and if they're all good, awesome. But I think it's really good if they keep changing and finding new sounds, also the way they look, the concepts, the lyrics, you know, what they talk about and everything. They were changing all the time and I think that's awesome. Number 8 is their vocals and their vocal harmonies. Now, most bands have one singer, maybe 2 singers. But the Beatles had 4 singers, the 4 of them were singers, and they were all really good, especially in my opinion, Paul McCartney and also John Lennon. Paul McCartney is my favorite singer, and John Lennon is also really, really great. Maybe George and Ringo, you know, maybe one step below, but they were still good. Now, one of the things I like the most about John Lennon's and Paul McCartney's vocals is the fact that their range is huge. They can sing really low notes and also really high notes, and also their voices can be very sweet or very aggressive depending on the song, and I don't think that's something that a lot of singers can do. And then we have their famous vocal harmonies. They really knew how to do vocal harmonies very, very well. That boy took my love away. And also producer George Martin helped them do amazing things with their vocals. The way all their voices work together is just amazing. I haven't heard that in any other band, and it's such a sweet sound. They do really, really clever things musically. Yeah, I think that's one of the main reasons I like the Beatles as well. Number 9 is their humor. Now, I love comedy, and I think the Beatles were really, really funny. All of them were really funny. You know, they were always making very smart comments. They made all their interviews very entertaining. John Lennon could get away with saying almost anything to anyone, and they were constantly kidding and joking around. So yeah, I think all of them had great sense of humor.
Today, we were just trying to write songs about prostitutes and lesbians, that's all.
What kind of girls do you prefer?
My wife.
Your wife.
What kind of girl is she?
She's a nice girl.
What kind of girl do you like?
John's wife.
John, I told you not.
Bunch of clowns.
Of your friends, could you please introduce
Yes, there's George Parasol, Ringo Stone, and Paul Machamley.
And did they have anything to do with your book? Did they help you or did they hinder you in any way?
No, they typed it out for me.
And number 10 is the fact that if you don't believe me, if you don't believe the Beatles were the best band ever, you don't have to take my word for it, because almost every single well-known musician loves the Beatles, was influenced by the Beatles, grew up listening to the Beatles, or at least recognizes their massive influence in modern music.
And I just feel that I'm not equipped to do certain things that John Lennon did, and I don't think anybody should, because John Lennon was just, unique and a one-off, and that's the way it is. And I just I admire John Lennon very much.
Beatles were our Bible, has to be said in a lot of ways. Although we were able to take some things further than the Beatles because we had better technology and we had the benefit of their experience. But the Beatles just did so many things right.
Is that an exciting thing for you, to work with John Lennon?
75, rather. Hell, I mean, he was one of the major influences on my musical life. I mean, I just thought he was the very best of what could be done with rock and roll.
I thought it was incredibly important and it changed my life. I then found out it was the Beatles.
Okay, so that's it for now. That was 10 reasons why I think the Beatles are the best band ever. Please let me know in the comments if you feel the same way about the Beatles being the best band in the world, or maybe if you disagree, or maybe give me some other reasons why they were the best band in the world, or maybe give me your reasons why they were not the best band in the world. Some people also say they were overrated. No, I'm kidding. All opinions are valid, so if you think they were overrated, let me know in the comments. So yeah, that's pretty much it for now. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. You can also follow me on Instagram, and the most important thing, please consider subscribing to this channel, because I'm working on so many videos just like this one about the Beatles, and also I share my own music as well. So yeah, please subscribe to this channel. It's gonna take you half a second. Right, that's it for now. See you next time. Bye.
Well, I'm afraid that's us run out of time.
Oh,
I'm really sorry.
Oh,
So,
bye everyone.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
If I give my heart to you, I must be sure from the very